Hey guys, John here. I actually have Nicole and Daniel here from the Hollyshorts Film Festival. It's a pleasure to actually have them on the show to be able to talk about the Hollyshorts Film Festival. It's a big honor to be able to do this. This is actually my second year doing this film festival. But do me a big favor. Go over to Spotify, go over to Anchor, go over to wherever you guys get your podcast from. Rate me over there. Also, too, don't forget to smash that like button and the subscribe button on the bottom corner, of course, on YouTube. And let's go on ahead. Let's get on with the show. And hey guys, welcome to the show. Like I said, it's a big honor to be able to do this with you guys. And it's such an honor because I remember last year, I was telling Nicole this. You guys took a chance on me with me being such a small channel that I wasn't sure. Because here's the thing, most film festivals go ahead and look at the subscribers count. They look at the viewerships. They look at all this other stuff like, I don't think I want to take a chance on him. But one of the things I can actually say that I love about what the Hollyshorts Film Festival does, it allows me as an indie podcaster to be able to shine through this festival and to be able to do this with you guys. It's such an honor to do this again for the second year. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, then Nicole will start. You go ahead, Nicole.
Well, I was saying to him, thank you very much. I mean, we're super appreciative of anybody who's interested in covering our festival and showcasing what we offer in Los Angeles for the independent short filmmaker, and to have such a great platform to be able to just continue to talk about our panels, our films, us. I was telling you a quick story about Daniel and how like influential he is with all the videos that he's done. And so it's nice to see when filmmakers reference stuff that he's done and kind of, say to him like, oh gosh, I love you and thank you for helping me with this, or stuff like that. So thank you for your channel and thank you for giving us this opportunity as well.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, well, I second that. Yeah, we're. I mean, look, size of audience stuff that all grows, it all changes. So whatever it is today is going to be more tomorrow, and that's not really of main consequence. It's about what you bring and the passion, and energy you bring. That's the same thing we look at for ourselves. Now this is what it is now, but 18 years ago, you would have been like, "Wow, I'm going to cover your festival," because it was so small. So these things change
Right.
and grow. So that's not really of consequence. It's about the effort and passion you bring, and the filmmakers. We want as many coverage and interviews as possible, and reviews. The reviews and the coverage for their films is a critical part of the growth of the festival. From maybe the early years, we didn't really have a chance to get much of that. We were so crazy running around trying to do all these things that we didn't have access to or means to know who's covering what and get to that point. So now to be able to have really great coverage and reviews of the films, it's what the whole thing's about. We want to get the films exposed and give filmmakers exposure, and that's part of what you're offering, of course. So we're very, very happy to have you, and happy that you do this. And so next year you got to do this, but also be in person as well. We got to have you
Yeah.
out as well.
Okay.
I'm working on that.
That's the next step.
Because right now I actually pretty much I'm preparing to get married in October, so therefore it's a little bit harder for me to be able to get out there like I wanted to, because that's my goal. My goal is to get out to this festival and be with you guys and celebrate this big festival with you. My
next
co-host.
year. Your wedding's a little more important, so
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you so much. And I actually have my co-host Rossie. She's in the chat.
hey.
But you know what though? The thing that I wanted to ask you guys, when you go into like choosing what movies to actually show, what's the process like? I mean, because I can imagine the submissions that you guys actually do. Like, do you guys have a judge specifically for that, or is it separated from the judges you have in person, or do you just go through this whole entire deal where you're just looking at them yourselves, even though there's probably over 5,000, but you probably go into each individual?
Yeah, it's
So what's
a
the
mixture.
process?
Yeah. Well, so the process has grown a bit more and changed somewhat. I mean, naturally, the sort of agenda or kind of the feeling or what we look for, ultimately making a decision is going to be the same, because it's still us making those decisions. So we're going to say, I love this, I like this, and why. And yeah, that's in, and that's not in, and all that stuff. But we have grown the review team considerably over the years. It used to be much more really just, we kind of kept the kite tight to the vest. We didn't really give up control. It was like very much like it's us. No one else can make decisions. But we had to learn to delegate that and give up some of that control. That many films, lives change. It's just not feasible to say, okay, I'm just going to watch all of these movies all the time. It's just not realistic. And also, even that said, it's also not ideal, right? Like, we need other voices, other people saying, this is important to share this, and this is why. and other voices of the people. So it's not just myself or Theo or Nicole saying, yeah, I like this, so this is in. It's not about us. It's about the films and about showcasing a broad work. So it's better to have more voices and more ideas and ideologies and people saying, this is why this is important to share this film. And I think this really meant a lot to me. And this is why. And then we can agree and say, you know what, you vouch for this film, then yes, we'll put this in and program this for that reason. So we've added to that. And more specifically, there's more people. So we have a review team, not the number offhand, but like there's more like 30 or so people watching films now and reporting to us. Mm-hmm. And we do weekly or bi-weekly calls. And on these Zooms, we're going over, okay, tell us your favorites and why. Tell us a film you maybe thought was not for you, but maybe we need to see, because again, everyone has preference, right? Like someone might hate horror films, but we love them as a festival. And maybe it's best I watch them, not you, but we're assigning films blindly in batches. We're not looking at it, well, you get this, you get that. It's here's your batch, here, everyone now get to work. So if there's something that's not for them, we need to know so we can, properly judge it when we watch it ourselves and things like that. So go through that process. And from that, it's a narrowing down process. It's a sifting through. You're getting to the point of what score is 8 and above and what's got a chance to be second round viewing through a 1 to 10 score. And then we rewatch those films and discuss those films and deliberate on those films and go over what can program based on us, as you know, loving genre films and certain themes and styles, action, horror, comedy, etc. Films that fit accordingly. So that's kind of a long-winded answer into that process a bit. Yeah.
Okay. And from day-to-day basis, Nicole, what is some of the stuff that you have to go through as well? Because that's something I wanted that I was actually interested in though too, on what you do.
So I mean, what I miss is all of us actually watching the films together. We used to do that back in the day before we screened 400 of them. And we would spend a whole Saturday and Sunday debating about, well, what about this shot? Or no, the theme of this, or, oh gosh, this is this year's. That's always my favorite is to see the same kind of films, but from different perspectives each year. And like each one has its own nuance. And I like to see that even in this process, it's still very similar. So it's nice to hear Daniel talk about the review team and what they've watched, what he's excited about, what he really wants to be part of it. Some that the team doesn't like that he's like, actually, I really like this. I don't know why they didn't pick this. My part comes into play more so after the films have been selected. I'm more the person who, is reaching out to the filmmakers, getting them aware of what to expect for the festival, communicating what we need with them, and just excited to introduce them to us prior to actually getting there, and then to be that consistent voice for them throughout their whole process of us, being accepted through coming to the festival if they're fortunate enough to.
That's pretty cool though, from the both of you guys' standpoints on what you guys do. And, that's like for me, for instance, with my co-hosts and stuff like that, I always try to place my co-hosts or my guests in the right spots that I want to actually have them in. Because I know some people don't like horror. So therefore, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll go on ahead. I'll let you sit this one out. I'll get another person to come in and do the horror one. And it's okay. But it's all about placing people in the right places, stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's
and back to that real quick. There's a point. The difficult part of that is that there are specific people, some of the reviews, they say, look, I don't want to watch this, so make sure not. So I'll sift through a bit more and say, okay, I can take stuff out by putting it in Film Freeway. I can put a certain category, and then something will come up and say, okay, you can just watch more of these, and that way they can avoid, maybe a genre they don't like and that kind of thing. But for the most part, that doesn't happen as much. So we need honesty from everyone. Like, look, tell me if you don't like something, don't just say you don't like it because you just don't like that genre. That's not. We might love the film and say, this is a great film, and you're just giving it a bad score because it's not for you. It's not about you or us. It's not about it's not a personal thing, really. It's thinking outside of that. It's more about what an audience will want, what's relevant or important to be able to program, or what has a place. What should an audience in Hollywood have a spotlight on and see. So if not like, oh, I don't like this movie, but it's actually wonderful, but it's not for you, so then you take it out. Like that doesn't make sense. So that's not something we want to have happen. So, but that part can be difficult because we are sending out a bunch of films to people. We can't go one by one to every movie and do that. That is just so tedious and time consuming to do that. And we haven't watched them yet either, so we don't even know what they are until they watch it and tell us. So that part of the process is we have to trust that the review team is on top of that and honest about what they want to see, and or they want to just like we do. We love watching everything, and like some people, not always the case.
But some of our reviewers are voracious movie lovers. Like they're just like, I finished my batch. Do you have more? I thought these 10 were amazing, and then Daniel will be like, okay, let me watch them and see and make sure. And then you have others that are like, okay, I finished my 20. Like, can I have more? Or, you know what I mean? So it's kind of nice too to see. In the beginning it was us all being like, okay, what genre do we want to watch this weekend? And now it's people who get a mixture of things, and they're like, no, this one would be really excellent for like thriller. And then for me, for Daniel, the Midnight Madness ones are always my favorite to see what ultimately gets picked for our festival. And in the last few years, what is it, like 3 or 4 years now, you've actually made that a specific category. So people submit to that. And that's exciting because those are, you know, sometimes too raunchy or too sexual or, you know, too much that it's not going to be for everybody, but there is an audience for everybody. You know, and so I think it's
too much,
that
right?
we offer that too.
There's one that's too much for me. There's some stand out forever. You know, we'll always be the famous ones. But you know, this year we have a few. You know, Blood of Dinosaurs is pretty awesome, pretty fun and crazy and out there. And I met them the other day. They're great. The filmmakers are pretty cool, awesome. They're here. They're happy. Pretty neat. But Phlegm is another film. Phlegm is just gross. It's pretty gross. I mean, so you watch it, you're like, this is awesome. How they pull this off? I have no idea. It's really, really interesting and weird. And like, what the hell? But it's also something I'm like, yeah, I saw it. I'm good. It's great. We programmed it, but I'm like, I actually, for me, even I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that again, but I'm good. It's awesome.
You're like, but I did.
Right.
But I think
I get like that too on some films.
The big screen, it's even more like, oh, I wonder how the reaction was in the crowd. Actually might be playing coming up this week. I don't know if it played this past midnight or the one coming up, but got to check.
Okay.
That's we got to check on that one. But so you got to see that. But yeah. So it's fun. But the DVD thing was different. See, we used to get together and we were watching DVDs back then.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Piles and, you know, this and DVDs. I had so many DVDs in my apartment and storage. It was like, it's just crazy.
That's one thing about the good thing about the digital age, right?
Yes.
You can actually put everything out there and it'll be
so many.
Just click the link and you're good to go.
My garage, Theo's house, his garage. There was DVDs that were just everywhere, all over. It's just like
the milk crate.
It's like
the little postal crate.
You're like hoarding. We're hoarding DVDs.
Yeah.
But welcome, Theo.
Hi,
hey guys. How you doing?
Doing great, man. How are you doing though?
Good. Thanks so much for your support.
You're welcome anytime.
Always so good to us, and so thank you for having us on. And,
thank you. You guys are so good to us though as well. Rossie and Charlie and Alex and I, we do appreciate everything that you guys do over at the festival and doing stuff for us. It's fantastic. And just working and partnering up with you guys for the second year is just I'm just lost for words because of how great this is.
Let's keep it going. So good.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. But I wanted to talk to you guys because here's the thing. I wanted to go back on what Daniel's point was, because you actually, when you're reviewing a film, you can't let it be about yourself. You have to separate yourself from what you like and stuff like that. It's about the director. It's about the art of reviewing something. And that's one of the nitpicks that I have about social media, in a sense, where this one person will actually comment and go, "Well, this movie sucks." I'm like, well, what didn't you like about it? Let's have a conversation. Because you saying it sucks reminds me of my 5-year-old nephew that wants to go ahead and just say, well, I don't like that film. Well, tell me why. Let's have a conversation about it over pizza or something. I want to know. Because then we can actually start jiving. And then once this one person winded up starting having a conversation with me, like, okay, now we're having what we call a conversation.
Sounds like you don't like your nephew's reviews very much, it sounds like.
Exactly.
There's always pizza, though, so it's important. But that's what I say to a lot of filmmakers who don't get selected to the festival, right? They'll say, like, well, why not? And I say it's a subjective thought process. So for us at this particular time, it doesn't mean that the film was horrible. It doesn't mean that it was bad. It means that for us, sometimes the timing didn't work out. We have too many films and not enough time for your 29-minute film that would have fit perfectly in a block had we seen it earlier, maybe. The content for the theme of the year may not fit necessarily with where we're going with that. And because we rejected it doesn't mean that it's horrible. But like at the same point, if you're open to hearing the constructive criticism or to hear why it wasn't necessarily selected, we're open to that as well. You know, but it is hard for some people to just be like, well, I didn't like it. Well, that's for us. I feel that's not an acceptable answer. Like, what about it didn't you like? For our reviewers, we asked them, like, why didn't you like this? So if a filmmaker does come to me, which I get those emails, well, could you tell me why I didn't get in? I go back and I look and I see, and then I share with the filmmaker and I say, these were the reasonings why for this year. It's not to say for next year it won't be, but for this particular moment.
Exactly, because here's the thing. It's all about trying to sell yourself and give your pitch, because even for me trying to do sponsorships, you have to try and sell yourself in order to get picked up. If you don't sell yourself in the right way, and you give the wrong synopsis or you give the wrong type of vibe from the movie itself, you could wind up saying, look, it was nice to actually view this film, but your film is good for us, but you need to go on ahead and try again for next year because we have other submissions. So that's understandable. And in order for you to be in this atmosphere, into the film criticism, you actually have to take criticism where criticism is due, because there is constructive criticism out there. And if you can't take criticism, you're in the wrong type of business when it comes down to doing films, stuff like that.
Well, no,
So
you're gonna get most of us all. We're gonna get no more than yes for all of it.
Correct.
Like sponsorship, I don't know, anything, whatever. You're trying to sell a show, you sell a script, pitch a script. It's gonna be mostly no. Your one is the only yes is the one, really, mostly. I mean, unless you have something that's a bidding war and it's a big, your Soderbergh or whatever. I mean, it's a difference. It's, you know what I mean? Like you're going to get a lot of no. You're getting no. This is what we're all dealing with, all of us. And at the same time, everyone gets rejected at some point. So I always bring up the Skin example. Skin won the Oscar. Skin is one of our favorites and all this stuff. We love that film. And they got rejected by Sundance rejected that movie. Tribeca rejected that movie. Sorry to throw them names out there. Sorry, whatever, but that's true. So they got rejected as well, but they went on to win an Oscar, and the film's great. We love it, and it won our festival. So even that film is highly touted or whatever, it gets rejections. Everyone's getting rejections. Everyone. That's the point I want to make. It's just, they're all getting, Long Goodbye probably won last year. I'd probably been rejected by some festivals, I'm sure. Not that
I love that film. That was actually one of my favorite films of the year that I've done with you guys.
Great. Yeah, but you know what? Got rejected by some festivals too. It didn't make Sundance, so I don't know if they submitted it. They probably didn't make it. So I'm just saying, so it's the point that these films, as great as they are, and it's sort of unanimous, we all agree they're very good. There's some festivals there's no place for them, even whether it's the violence in the story or this or that, or just the fact that they don't like it for whatever reason. So it's not this thing that's unanimous and everyone gets in everywhere. Everyone's getting rejections to some degree across the board.
Well, it's like playing for the World Series, for example. I mean, you have a bunch of teams in the playoffs. Some teams might not win because of the fact that somebody outshined the other person. And so just because you didn't make it does not mean that you didn't do a great job in that playoff. It's just that somebody else did a better job than you did. So therefore, your film could be a 10 out of 10, but there's also somebody else that has a 10 out of 10 as well. So you have to figure out, okay, which one is better for me to go? Is the pacing better? Is the dialogue better? Does this thing flow better than the other film does? In some cases, that film might actually be a knockout versus the other film because of those things. I'm sorry if the other film didn't make it or whatever, but there's always try again next year. And keep pushing yourself, applying yourself, and keep having the ambition as a filmmaker or a writer, and just keep on doing what you're doing because it's working. Clearly, if you're into a festival or if somebody even looked at it, because most studios just go on ahead, they look at it like, and next thing you know, it just gets put into a bin for later on, and then they dust it off later on. Perfect example is the Denzel Washington movie with HBO Max, stuff like that. Yeah. It was under their radar for God knows how long. It was basically in a box, and then they dusted it off and said, okay, we're going to make this film, but we're not going to make any adjustments to what we're doing. We're just going to apply it like it's supposed to be a 7 kind of vibe mixed in with it, and maybe people will go with it. And so happens to be it just didn't work, but that's what they did. And basically, as a writer and everything, you just keep on doing what you're doing and keeping your ambitions open, because sooner or later something's going to wind up hitting. And I wanted to ask Theo about this, though. Like, Theo, in your position and stuff like that, what do you do as far as the Hollyshorts Film Festival goes as well? Because I want to have some inspiration for other people who are listening and may want to do a festival or things like that too.
We touch on everything. Listen, we're like a collective, a team. And I would say in my life, I tour the world, attend other festivals, recruit, scout for other colleagues or friends that can come into the fold and help contribute to the season. It's just like the sports analogy you're having. These are seasons to help us try to, put this ship together and have maximum success. I'm also looking at content. I'm looking to meet with the filmmakers. Sometimes they're on awards runs. And so I have another life where I market content, feature length and series, and I'm fortunate to be able to attend some of the biggest other festivals in the world, like the Cannes and the Tribecas and Berlinale, and so we bring some of that international aspect to the festival, and we have a big international contingency to Hollyshorts this year. Canada has a lot of UK, France, and so I'm able to kind of go to some of those territories, see some of our alumni, discuss with them what they're working on next, try to do some professional development, team up with other companies and organizations, like some places in the UK that we're looking at, and see how they can merge and fit with what we're trying to do. I mean, when we started it, the idea was help our friends, help filmmakers advance their careers. And that's still the same goal. So whether we find a friend in the UK who can do another film fund. We did the film fund to finance the script competition. We're looking at another company to fund another script competition. We work with the people at Content London to do some special showcases of the shorts, maybe some shorts. We did a program with them where some short filmmakers pitched their series. So that's a lot of time. And then the other hat is just like the venues, just taking care of some of the venues and locations and doing different deals with places. We like to make it their experience. Even before we were Oscar qualifying, the goal was to make Hollyshorts kind of like, the gold standard for people to kind of meet, hang out, network in the backdrop of Hollywood. So the cooler facilities, the cooler venues we can have, the better. This year, we got a new one in the mix, the Godfrey Hotel. The filmmakers had a cocktail party there this past Saturday, and it was just incredible. We go back there for our awards. It's a new hotel in Los Angeles. We spent a lot of time in the Roosevelt. Nicole's really kind of got us back there, and had some great receptions this week. And she's also helped facilitate our event space at the Japan House. But it's just everything. We all touch all sides of it. And the cool thing is having a great team like this is it's like a wheel. So if one person's down, the other person steps up. One person's down, the other person steps up. It's kind of like what the agencies do with their clients. It's like a functioning wheel sometimes, And also must say that it is independent, right? Listen, maybe looking into the future, eventually we get a big sponsor and that changes things. But at the moment, I think it's even more impressive to do this completely independent, raise the budget completely on our own, not have a studio that's putting this on. This is really us. So we're a baby Disney.
That's pretty awesome, though, that you guys are independent. You work independently. You have a crew together, and you're operating just fine by getting the funds that you need without a sponsorship. That's really impressive, man. I have to give it to you guys and the creative team that you have, because you guys have a great team. You guys work as a team. And that's one thing I have to say about with me having co-hosts. If I'm not able to do something, they step in and help me out. It helps out tremendously as well. 100%. I have the best crew, and you guys have the best crew there is, to be honest. You got Nicole, you got Daniel, you have the go-to people, the gurus of the film festival that can actually help you and lean on you whenever you need something. So that's fantastic
too. I mean, listen, we don't want to just paint a picture of just it's always apples and roses.
No, absolutely.
Sometimes life is tough. There's going to be dark moments, and that's why even more you got to have people you trust in your family that can have your back and help you make amazing key decisions and be of help when things aren't going so great. That's what some of the teams do. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, flu game. I mean,
You're talking about my era, my 90s era. So yeah, if you weren't a Bulls fan in the 90s, you weren't born between the 80s and 90s. So therefore,
100%.
Exactly.
Watch out, Daniel's Lakers. Be careful. He's Magic Lakers era.
No Jordan for me. No Jordan for me.
So, I'm a Celtics fan though too. But but going back on what you guys were saying, Nicole and Daniel as well. When it comes down to viewing these films, one of my friends goes, "Well, how many films were submitted to you?" I said, 87. Like, are you going to do all 87? I said, look, I'll be like Rocky Balboa, where I'm just like black and blue, and then I have my manager telling me just throw in the towel because I'm done for the day. No, I'll be done for the whole year, because at that point, I said, no, the way I select my films is this. I look at the plot, I look at the poster, stuff like that. Prime example is when I had Coleman Domingo's film. The thing that sold me was the thumbnail and the artwork behind that short. I'm like, okay, this is a film I'm interested in. So I'm going to check it out. And also, too, if it's relatable and if it's something that I can put on here to where people can relate to and someone to care about it as just as much as I do, then yes, I'm going to go ahead and review it. But if it gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, I can't put this on here because of the fact that it's not very relatable. It's not something that I would choose to do. I can't relate to it. If somebody that I'm trying to get to review it can't relate to it, I put it aside maybe for another day, or if I go on ahead and try to revisit again. Because here's the thing, I'm 37 years old too. So sometimes I work 8 hours a day and out of a hospital. So sometimes I'm really cranky. I'm like, okay, this movie I'm gonna have to put aside for another day because I'm just too tired. But the thing that I love about the short films is it's easy to digest. It's easy to be able to watch a 5, maybe 20-minute film, and you can feel full. You don't have to watch a 2.5-hour movie. And to be honest with you, sometimes 2.5-hour movies just feels like oversaturation to the point where you're at the buffet line and you're just oversaturating yourself and eating everything up to the point where like you can't even breathe. You need to go ahead and have new pants because you're overate. Right. So with these short films, and I even told Rossie this when we reviewed one of the films, and she can vouch for me for this, but I said, they just told us everything that we needed to be told in a 5-minute scene where they don't have to do dialogue or anything. And 99.9% of acting is visualization. And that is something that I really love about the Hollyshorts Film Festival and also short films itself, is the fact that you guys actually give us something that we can grab onto and stick with us. And there's several movies last year that still stick with me. There's also Coleman Domingo's film that sticks with me and resonates with me now as well as a reviewer. But is there something, now this is actually for all three of you, but is there a film that you reviewed that just sticks with you?
I mean, for this particular year, or do you mean in general?
Just in general.
I mean, I literally just told this story yesterday, but for me, so Theo and Daniel started Hollyshorts and I came on board about year 4 or maybe 5 with them. And the first year that I was a part of it, I was a volunteer. And I remember we were all sitting at the table looking at the program saying like, oh my gosh, I want to go see this block, or I want to see this film. And I remember I was able to step in and catch the last 2 films in a student film block. I think one of them was titled like The Freeze or something. And it was the stop motion animation of like food in a refrigerator. And I'm a big like inanimate object talker, or like talking for animals person. So this movie totally hit me in the right way. And it was basically the story of like this old refrigerator freezing all the food and the food trying to save themselves before. And so it was all stop motion. It was like so perfect. I don't want to spoil it, but if you look for it, the filmmaker that did that ended up being David Gordon Green, who went to direct, I believe, Echo for Disney. And that was like just a student film that he did. And then I saw another student film from Chapman that was called The Book of Tomorrow. And it was like a take on not like the Twilight Zones. What was that other show from the 80s that we all like Amazing Stories, you know? So this kid, he had like a comic book and it would like predict the future, and everything he would see in this comic book would come true the next day. So he realized that he had the power to like change what was going to happen. And I remember this big scene with like this robot that almost, I mean, at that time period, we're talking like 14 years ago, like rivaled CGI now for me. Like, I was like, this is so impressive. And this is a student film, and this is what a student is doing. So much so that I remembered that film. And I actually remember talking to that filmmaker and became friendly with that filmmaker, because I'm like, that is so cool that you were just a student and like you had all of these resources. So we're talking 14 years ago, and those 2 films still stick out in my mind for me. But over the years, there's so many filmmakers that have really done some like really incredible, and then you're fortunate enough to kind of be on the journey with them, to kind of see them as they progress in their career. And sometimes they come back to us with more projects that they want to premiere, or you know, they've gone on to do features, but they're like, I had an idea for another short, I want to come and play it here, or I did a documentary, can I come here? So those are always really nice. But those 2 are ones for me that stick out the most.
You have to inject. It was Meltdown was the title.
Meltdown, thank you. I knew it. Oh my god, I love that one.
That's
so much.
An all-time favorite. That is Meltdown. It's just the perfect short. It's the perfect short film. The story, delivery, the pacing. It's fun as hell. Everyone loved it in the audience. It's the voiceover stuff's great. What's his name? David Cross, right? It was
David Green.
The voiceover, the comedian.
Oh yeah. That was him. Yeah.
That was great. That was just an awesome short. That's one of the all-time favorites. That's great. But yeah, there's always some that we all love. I mean, I always talk about the Skin Story because that's like a personal favorite, but also just I watched it and I like called Theo. I was like, listen, you got to put this on now. Trust me, this film is winning. This is it. This is like so many films you like. You're like, this is strong. This is a really great film. This is a chance. This is a chance. This is we're gonna program this. Like there's some films you watch and you're like, this is in. I don't know yet where I'm putting it, but this is I'm selecting this now. There's no need to like deliberate, share with anyone else, or obviously we have that final say, so we just go ahead and do that. But so there's a lot of films like that. But Skin was for me just one of those kinds of, I just felt this is going to go farther than just, this might win. This can win. This can go all the way. We just felt very strong about it. And it was very unanimous, the jury across the board. Everybody loved the film. Just hit the notes, the social impact, the story, the cast, all of it was just there. It's just very, very impactful. The ending obviously is sort of a shock moment, but it works. And all those things. It just was, that's one of the favorites. And then, there's others I don't know what Theo will have, so I don't even want to spoil. There's one I think you might be saying. I don't know. We'll see. But there's different ones. There's many. But there's some that stick with you that just you'll always think about or never forget. But that's just I always go back to that story because of what the film also meant for us with winning the Oscar after we qualified, all the cool things, but just that we just felt that so strong and instantaneously knew it, just felt it, and the instinct was right, I guess. So that's a cool one. But let me see what Theo's got.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things, right? I mean, there's this year there's great ones. There's always great ones, but that's a great question because 18 years there's one that stand out, and some of them stand the test of time, and they're just excellent. I mean, just this year there's different perspective in this question. One, there's a filmmaker who won the Oscar. He did Two Distant Strangers, Trayvon Free. And he gave us a vision for this project he had. They executed it, and then to see it come to life, we showed it opening night, 38 in the Garden documentary. HBO bought it. It's just interesting to just see the vision to do it, and then the execution, right? Frank Chi directed it, so that's just got rave reviews with us. Our friends, our filmmakers, they're just like, oh, so inspiring. Close the block up. Also timing with these things. And I would love to have you in person with us too next year because it changed. It's being in that theater, from the little screen to then the theatrical sound thing I can't explain it, That's why Nolan loves those theaters so much, right? It makes a difference, with these
right.
things.
Because right. Well, here's the thing. You can have a sound bar, right?
Yeah.
You can have a sound bar. You can have a 45, 50-inch TV. But there's nothing like going into a theater and listening to the surround sound and looking at the audience, because I always do this when I'm around the theater. People say I'm nosy, but no, I'm just looking at other people's reactions just to see if I'm getting the same vibe that they're getting off of, because I feed off of other people's vibes too. So
everything, you're right. Yeah, I mean, listen, we had a film that played last night. It played at our monthly screening. Our monthly screening had 10 people. This was like, this one we're at like 100 something, and then you could just hear the different reactions, and then it makes it a different experience. But to your point of this theatrical thing and community, there's a couple that stand out, and they just happen to be horror genre. I guess we're horror people, horror fans. Even now we have a deal with Epic and Dread to help adapt some of the shorts into feature-length films, and they're co-financing projects between $1 million and $3 million, and also they're doing like a fast micro budget deal with filmmakers. So that's a cool thing that we brought. But yeah, so horror is close to us, and so The Smiling Man is a film. It's a short. It's insane. I mean, seeing that on a horror night in the screen, and there's this little girl. I pulled it up right here, and the character in the face is something that's never escaped you. And the guy, AJ Brilliance, has gone on to do great things, and the thing still gives you chills now. And I think that was like, years ago, right? It's online too if anybody wants to see it. The Smiling Man. And there was another one.
But no, going on another thing you were mentioning, the Theo is this.
There's another one, The Devil's Dash. Zachary Guerra. I saw him the other day. I hadn't seen him since the 8th. 10 years. It goes fast. That film is insane. That was 10 years ago. Stellar. The level of execution is just insane. Yeah, I think that one played our opening night too. And people had chills. People were like screaming or crying or running out. It's like, how do you make this?
Right.
And so then we put on this different hat of making shorts and making content. And we have to step our games up. It goes back to the questions you had earlier of, how do you make these things, and the measurement, the bar is so high. It's almost like, why do this? These guys we have so much respect for these filmmakers, tremendous amount, and to be handpicked from this 5,000 to 6,000 group is, and the screenplays too. Even that side of it, we know that's the blueprint for the work, and it's so difficult, so freaking hard. So it's a huge element of respect.
I bet there's a lot of analyzation when it comes down to the scripts itself that you guys have to read, though, too. Because there's a thing of visualization, though, too. It's like you don't have anything to visualize a scene with, but you have to make sure the dialogue, what's on paper, is actually going to be great to actually play out later on for the audience to actually believe. If the words on paper is not there for the audience to believe.
Some of that it's a feeling. It's a feeling of sort of a gut feeling of a project or work. You just feel like this is good. This person is talented. They have it. There's a feel with the films. You can see it. There's a visual part of it. So you're looking at it, you're watching. Wow, this looks incredible. Or this feels right. This is with the scripts the same way. Is how does it read? Is the pacing? Does it feel like it gets my attention? I'm into this. I'm all in. I'm all in. Or am I kind of I don't know. I'm questioning. It's like I'm fighting myself or fighting. If you're fighting it, there's a reason you're probably fighting it. If you're not fighting it, it just comes naturally. You feel like good about it. You're excited about it. It's obviously what you're reading is working the same way what you're watching is working. It shouldn't be a struggle to I wasn't sure. It's just jumps out of you. That feeling is there, and it's something that part is, I guess, something we just, I don't know how to describe that part of it. It's just something you either feel or have, or I don't know, just trust your gut, I guess. But that's also part of it too.
But I want to mention this, though, real quick, though, with Theo. And here's the thing. I'm planning on trying to get out there probably next year. Because here's the thing. Right now, here's the thing. I'm actually planning for a wedding. So it's actually a little bit harder for me to get out there because I'm getting married in October, like I was telling Nicole and Daniel. But that's actually one of my go-to goals. Ever since I was a kid, my goal was to get into Hollywood and do something where I can interview directors, actors, actresses, and stuff like that.
We'll take care
it just happens to be I'm in the wrong state. But, but this has always been my dream and my ambitions to actually do this with a community that loves film just as much as I do and talk about films. And I appreciate everything that you guys do. It's really heartwarming that you guys took a chance with me and with my channel. It's and also to my podcast as well. And I just want to say a big thank you to you guys. And also, there's actually another thing I want to bring up is something that Daniel said, though. Whenever you're looking at a script, and I always say this in my reviews too, whenever you're looking at scripts, it could look good on paper, on black and white, but it's all about how you actually come out with it and the dialogue. And if the actor is not invested into it, or if it becomes cringy to the point where it's like, okay, maybe that shouldn't have been there and stuff like that. Because what might be perceived on paper as great, it's about the flow and the execution of that line and how it's received when it comes out of you. That's the problem in some cases. I was like, it's fine on paper, but I would have left that one alone. But
we see there's some great scripts that maybe some examples. I won't name the projects and names, but there's some films that unfortunately we were excited about. They submitted the final product. It was not something that won the contest, but they maybe placed semifinals. So we're like, oh great, this is one of our scripts. I know this script. I know this film. Like I feel like I know it because I know the script. I know where this is. I know the story. Let me see how this actually came out now. Let's see how they actually pulled this off, how they executed the film, and let's see how good this is. And there's some that do well and actually get selected. You're very excited. And then there's some that don't. And it's what it is. We're not going to just put it in because it's part of the contest. We get excited. We're not going to just add you in the festival lineup because it's like a natural progression. But does the film execute? Is the story well? Still pulled off well? Is the acting on par? One of the films that was acting was just not there. It was not strong. So it diluted the film. It wasn't something that could be selected. So it was just kind of a bummer. We felt like, we like the script. We're excited that they're part of the sort of the family, but we have to also be authentic and real about the fact that this is a competition. This is not just a favors based thing. We're not just going to put things on because the friendly.
Right, you can just hit that golden buzzer and be like, okay, everybody's in. Right,
No,
you have to.
Not that. So it's you get bummed out. It's a disappointment, but it's also this is just the reality of it. So it's
But if we consistently take people we know, we know your work is good, how do we allow an opportunity for other unknown filmmakers and other filmmakers who haven't had the same opportunity to have this platform and to meet and network and have their films shown to audiences that may not have seen them before, So that's the other hard part too, about as you grow, you have to continually allow for new to continue to grow with you. And we love our alums. We unfortunately, had to miss a lot of them this year that had some really fantastic projects, but it, like I said, it doesn't mean that they weren't good. It just means for us, like, we had to give room to someone else this year, and hopefully we'll see them on the next go round with the next project.
It changed too. It used to be like, I don't know, I think it's the Oscar qualifying thing that's changed the playing field. They used to be really heard either if they don't get in, or obviously they're still heard, right? When they don't win, or when you don't win, they would be really, really on the brink of, oh my goodness, Now I think they are appreciative, one, of coming close, and then two, if they don't win, they're happy to be a part of the selection, because it's so hard to make it this far. Of course they're going to be
Exactly.
but it's so difficult, and it is
subjective. It really is, because another one. Okay, we had The Long Goodbye last year, and we had the Alika Chu movie that came out.
Oh yeah,
and that movie also sticks with me too. But and I was rooting for both films because I remember texting Beth, because Beth did the review with me for The Long Goodbye. And I said, both of our that film got nominated. Another film that I reviewed got nominated. I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm responsible for this because of the fact that I helped this director to get herself out there because of my reviews and stuff like that. But, but the thing that I like is the fact of how appreciative that she is to the fact that she came this far. Mm-hmm. And she was in that seat at the Oscars, which is a hard thing to get in. And you know what I'm saying? And then now she's recognized. And now you might actually have people within the maybe Blumhouse, maybe Warner Brothers, maybe someone might actually take a chance on her to direct a film. Mm-hmm. And you have this great flow of different indie directors coming in and out of the shorts and stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a single one that I don't think is great, because I think the ones that made it in there last time and even this time for the films that I reviewed, they do a fantastic job. It's just all about, who outshined who, in my baseball analogy that I dropped earlier. But, I have to commend you guys for trying to make the selection and how hard it is. Because I know if I had like over 5,000 films to review and trying to break it down into maybe, let's say for example, like 200 films or 100 films, and try to figure out which ones is great, I'd be like, I'm going to need another extra couple of hours, because I have this other slew of digital movies that I have to get through, and then I can focus on the ones I actually did, so I can measure out which ones did great, in my opinion. But, I commend all three of you guys for doing what you guys do.
Thank you.
But I think that's everything that I had wanted to ask you guys. And I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be on my show. It's such an honor to have you guys here. And that's me being 100% honest. Because whenever I got the email saying that you guys wanted, at first I thought you guys wanted to interview me. I'm like, wait. And so then I got the email back. No, they want to. I'm like, wait, they want me to interview them? I'm like, okay, yes, I'll do this, because this is something that I need, that I feel like in my heart that I want to do for you guys. And you're very welcome. And I appreciate everything that you guys do. I'm hoping to be there next year to be up there with you guys, over there with you guys, and be a part of that community that you guys.
You will. Yeah, John, you got the exclusive here. You never get all three of us in one place at one time. You usually get these two. You never get me. So you've got this.
But
thank you very much for covering us.
Very welcome.
Good luck. Congratulations for
Thank
the
you.
wedding in October, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you next year on the carpet with us.
Yes, indeed. And maybe my co-host as well, because I know that Rossie and Alex, they live in the California area as
Okay,
well.
Rossie.
And so I think they're from the Sacramento area. So
Okay.
Easy drive.
Okay.
We can make
We
it
like the May.
right here.
So that's what I told them. I said, I'll drive into whatever airport you guys are at, and we'll just do a road trip and road trip this thing out and do it from there.
We're gonna give you
But-
a scoop. We'll give you a scoop. The dates are August 10th
Yeah.
through 19th next year.
Okay. All right. I'll book that in advance then. I'll actually put that out there. So thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure as always to be able to do this. And if you guys ever want to come back on, let me know, and I'll be glad to book you guys again. I had a blast chatting with you guys.
Thank you
So-
very much.
Welcome. And with that being said, guys, that's going to be it for the show for tonight. But tomorrow night, I'm going to have independent director Crichton Hobbs with me. He's talking about his new film, Blinded by Darkness. So we're going to be talking about that new mobster movie tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Time. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe button, and all that other stuff. You guys know where to reach out to me. If you don't, the descriptions are down below. And always, until next time, guys, bye-bye.